he goes far. I like stay low and slow, and I train everybody up, and I get myself to a good spot. And then we went to battle each other, and my Pokemon were at like level 50, and his were like at 30 something. And because he was like, oh, his starter evolved to the third evolution. And I was like,
Yeah.
oh, what level are you at? And he was like, oh, like 38. Why? Where are you at? And I was like, oh, no worries. Do you want to battle?
Uh-huh.
He won because he has 6 Pokemon, and I just carry 5
Okay.
normally.
Okay.
Okay.
Well, hi everyone. Welcome back to the show. I'm Heather. My pronouns are she, her.
Hey, everybody. My name is Jaron. My pronouns are he, him, and we are your hosts of Typically Divergent Podcast. Welcome back to the show, everybody.
Yay!
Oh my gosh. Heather and I were just talking about Pokemon Scarlet. She came over and I was playing, and uh, Blue's Clues.
Yes.
I don't
Randomly into Blue's Clues. How we
know.
got there. I
Uh,
think it's just our childhood. We're reminiscing on childhood things.
Speaking of childhood things, my beautiful dog had a possum in his mouth earlier today. Not that it's really a childhood thing, but it was a thing
Yeah.
that happened
Your
before
your
she came
child,
over.
your dog.
There we
Yes.
go. My
Because it's
child.
about yes,
Yes.
your child. Little baby dozer.
Oh my gosh, I love that dog so much.
Well, he was very proud of himself for catching that possum.
I know. Okay, so it's like when cats like catch mice
Yeah.
and they're like, got that for you. Love
Yeah.
you.
Providing for the family here.
Yeah. But
Hope
the
you're
amount
happy.
okay, so you know how they say like pit bulls, what's the word? The stigma.
Stereotype and
This
stigma. Yeah.
There we go.
Stigmatization of what, like, pit ball. I can't speak today. Balls.
Pity bulls. Pit
Pit
bulls.
bulls.
Pit bulls. Um that they are uh dangerous and vicious dogs. No,
Mhm.
they just have a very strong jaw. And that is the first time
Yeah.
where I was like, wow,
Yeah.
I'm struggling to get something out of your mouth.
Yeah. Mm.
So, but anyway,
Well,
how are you doing today?
I've had a really good week and I'm
Mhm.
like very happy, but I'm on my freaking period.
It's Shark Week.
Yes, it's Shark Week for this girl. So I have just like full total openness and disclosure. So I have an IUD, which thankfully for me personally, that means that I don't have to experience that as much as normal.
Yeah.
But then when it comes around, it's like least when you least expect it because it's not regular. You can't figure that out. It's not on a calendar, right? And when I finally get one that has more symptoms,
Mhm.
I'm just like, oh my God, it just knocks me out like unexpectedly. And that'll be like, oh, okay, that was why.
Is
And
this
I
like a
have just
hormone
felt like a
inducing
lump.
one?
Yeah, like I
Okay.
feel like a total lump. Like I feel like a marshmallow,
Okay.
but not in a good way. Like I want to be a marshmallow that's wrapped in blankets and cozy and all I
Mhm.
want is hot chocolate and because it's colder now and
Mhm.
comfort food and I will totally do that when it's like that time of the month, but like at the same time it's, the cramps suck and like just feel
Mhm.
like nauseous and bloated. So I feel like a bloated marshmallow.
Okay.
It's just kind of funny, but it's also like it sucks. So you're like just getting through your day.
Mhm.
But positive overall, the week has been going pretty well.
Mhm.
Kind of a little bit of, chaos as usual at work. Things are always busy.
Mhm.
Um, I work in healthcare, but there's been a new opportunity that's been presented to me
Mhm.
in terms of shifting how I work or where I work job opportunity wise.
Okay.
So, like, not changing job location or anything like that, just a new opportunity within my field. And I've made the choice to take it.
You did?
Yes.
Oh my
I'm
God,
just
Heather,
not telling you here.
I'm so proud of you. I don't even know what this new job opportunity is, and she texted me and she was like, it was Wednesday,
Yeah,
and you were
yeah,
like, so sorry,
yeah,
I've had a really interesting day today. I had this
yeah.
new job opportunity, and I literally told you, I said, well, I don't know what it is, but whatever it is, like, I hope that you consider taking it.
Yeah, I'm taking it and we'll see what next steps are and everything.
When do you
But
start?
so don't actually know because my position will get backfilled and or like I will have to work with whoever would be coming in,
Okay.
help train them as well, transition into my new role.
Okay.
But also it's kind of one of those things where working in healthcare and as a healthcare professional, it's an opportunity to really grow where I work for my
Mhm.
career, have some new experiences, obviously that comes with new challenges too, but it's to grow the area that I do work in, for myself, but also for overarching my team and my department,
Yeah.
which is awesome.
Sorry, folks, if you hear that horse sound, that's my dog.
That's Dozer.
That's Dozer. Hey, buddy, go lay down.
Hey,
Are you gonna be less stressed?
I hope so. I think so. When evaluating the, all the pluses, or potential minuses. So I talked about it in therapy with my therapist this
Okay.
week. I could tell actually about halfway through that she was going through these like, well, what would be your biggest gain? What would
Mm.
be your biggest loss?
Oh,
What do you feel most excited about?
like the
What's your biggest
like
fear?
a pros and cons
Yeah, but
chart.
like in targeted
Yeah,
moments and like made me have to think about it. And like
I
when
love
I
doing
had to,
that.
and it's like, I wasn't going into that thinking that that's what our session was going to be about. It became that way because it
Yeah.
was such a sudden, like, oh, okay, so we're going to be able to maybe do this at my
Hmm.
workplace. And I was really excited about it. But, it's a big decision, it's a change. So I want to make sure I'm doing the right thing and
Hmm.
doing it for the right reasons, all that kind of stuff. I liked how she was having these targeted moments because it forced me to think on the spot, right? And I'm not good at that. I always have to like plan
Yeah.
responses, right? But when you have to think on the spot, it forces you to think in the moment, give your instinct.
Hmm.
And when she asked me what would be my biggest fear, what would be my biggest loss, I actually had a hard time
Hmm.
coming up with that.
Okay.
And she's like, okay, that's a sign in itself.
Yeah.
When I was evaluating the more negative sides, I thought to myself, okay, worst case scenarios. I think at worst, it would be the same level of stress.
Hmm.
My job is a high stress environment to begin with. I think it would be equal at the worst,
Hmm.
hopefully. Um, and I do think that it has the potential to be better,
Good.
more balance,
Good.
which I could use in my life and I would love to have. And at the same time, growing the healthcare related services that I'm doing and working with patients and stuff. And I think I would actually be able to work with patients a little bit closer and more directly too in this
Okay.
role, which I think is pretty awesome.
Good.
Yeah, I'm really excited.
It is ironic that you are mentioning that you are going on this new adventure.
Mm-hmm.
And I was going to save this till the end of the episode, but I
Okay.
think right now is a good time to do it.
Okay.
We have a full moon on December the 7th. This is also known as the quote cold moon, which is the
Ooh.
darkest and longest night of the year. Now, this is not a bad thing. This is the sign of the end of lots of stressors, negativity, old stories, and habits.
Oh.
Darkness is a sign of light on the way because you can't have lightness without darkness. Give yourself a chance to start new ideas, projects, and new healthy habits and life decisions. Full moon means powerful magic casting and spell crafting, so grab your crystals, get out there for a nice little moon bath, and don't forget to drink your moon water.
Oh my
So
goodness.
I wanted to go ahead and say that now because it was
Yeah.
already going to be at the end of the episode, but you're talking about going on this new adventure, and
Yeah.
I was like, this is perfect.
Aw. Well, thank you for relating that to that because
You're so
it
welcome.
felt really good. I might feel like a lumpy marshmallow right now, but I also
It's
am
okay.
excited overall for things going on.
Good.
So, yes, what about you? How are you doing?
Today, I am doing really great. Last Thanksgiving week was pretty stressful, relative stuff. I had a wonderful time with Nicholas and his family. In therapy, something that I've been working on with her was working up the courage to reinforce and reestablish boundaries with
Okay.
certain individuals.
Mm-hmm.
And we had been talking about how I wanted to tell my mother that I did not want to go to Christmas this year.
Mm-hmm.
I am the oldest grandchild in this set of relatives' family tree. I have been the first one to stir the pot and to step away, and those slow things have been happening for many years, but
Mm-hmm.
not coming to Christmas is like the biggest thing.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And so she goes, "How are you doing today?" And I said, "I'm great." I told her no.
Oh my
And
goodness.
she was like,
High five.
"I know,
Good
thank
for
you."
you.
And she was like, "Jaron, wow." And I was like, "Well, this is the timeline of everything and how and why it happened in that timeline." And she goes, "Oh, you're right. Like you really had
Mm-hmm.
to make a decision. You had to
Yeah.
tell her soon."
Yeah.
So,
You were kind of, I remember you telling me, you were kind of put into that position where you couldn't wait any longer and it just didn't make sense to keep holding it off because then it would have been even more difficult. So I
right,
think yeah,
right. With the whole like drawing names.
yeah, the right timing
Yeah.
for Secret Santa stuff.
I prepped her for next week. she
Mhm.
we had 20 minutes left, and I looked at my non-existent watch on my hand, and I was like, I know we still have 20 minutes of my appointment left, but I want to prep you for what we're going to be doing next week. And she was like, you, the patient, are prepping me, the
Oh my
therapist.
goodness.
And she goes, well, what
This
are
is
we going to
hilarious. That's very Libra energy
I
right
know.
there. Can I just
I know.
say?
I know. Well, I had to make sure that she knew what she was in for. And she
No
was like,
goodness.
give me a sample." And so I
Okay.
did, and she was like, "Okay, like what are your biggest fears?" And so I told her and about me telling her,
Mhm.
and then she like she validated so many things and gave me so many other like common examples that she has had with other patients, because she does a lot of post PTSD and trauma recovery therapy.
Mhm.
And did you know that sometimes people with severe PTSD can be misdiagnosed as schizophrenic?
Yeah, because in your PT, if you have a lot of it, and if you have a lot of those moments, because you have this total like otherworldly feeling. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
that. Yeah.
Yeah. I, I remember when you and I were having that one conversation,
Yeah.
and I was panicking,
Yeah.
and she looked at me and she was like, "Jaron, you're okay."
Mhm.
She had a patient who had been getting treated for schizophrenia for 50 years, and it turns out that he never did. He just had some very severe PTSD. Folks, we're not going to get into my trauma
Mm.
right now because I'm still going through it, but we're going to share with you one day, and other struggles of our lives we are more than welcome to share. However, that specific story, we are not ready for it now. That's
Mhm.
way too heavy. But we are on the upswing. And
Yes.
related to this, darkness and
Mhm.
light is on the way. Many, many months ago, my trauma was coming up.
Okay.
It was surfacing. So
Okay.
I meditated
Oh, okay, okay.
to
Yeah.
calm myself
Mhm.
down. The question I kept asking myself was, Nicholas and I are finally back together. And why am I dealing with this? You
Mhm.
know, why I finally have everything that I've ever wanted. Why am I dealing with this? And so I went into that journey. What I saw was I was on my safe place in the sky. This comet came through and crashed into my little island. All of this light, and then it got really dark. And that
Mm.
darkness grew and grew and grew. And I remember like saying, like, no, 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 like, I'm not willing to allow that to happen.
Mhm. Mhm.
And then slowly there was this little tiny light,
Mhm.
and it started to burn bright, and then it
Mm.
just got really big, and then all of that darkness went away.
Wow.
And so
That's very powerful.
since then,
Mhm.
March, I have experienced that darkness continued to like grow. There was one negative distorted thought that came to my mind where it was like, am I having these problems because Nicholas and I are back together? No. It was, I got what I wanted, and this was going to surface, and it was going to get bad, and then there was going to be a point where I could give everything up and be self-destructive, or I can continue to push forward and move against the grain towards that fear that I'm always talking to you about. Like, I'm
Mhm.
always running towards it.
Mhm.
And now I am feeling that light start
Mhm.
to grow, and that darkness is slowly going down. And
Mhm.
with that conversation that I had with her on Wednesday and telling her what to expect this coming week, and with the moon and all of these great things with
That's
you and
yeah.
I'm like, I I knew that if I gave all of this up, I would regret this for the rest of my life. And I am so glad that I am here now
Aw.
seeing that light grow.
That's awesome. Okay, first of all, I feel like that's actually points to some of your power.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I know we talk about witchcraft and things like that, and I think that points a little bit to your power in meditation. I don't think everyone experiences that
Mm-hmm.
level, and I think that you do, and that's incredible, Jaron.
Thank you.
That's really cool.
So speaking of my powers, um, Heather, so last week, folks, it was really stressful. It was really heavy.
Yes, yes.
We have gotten some really great positive feedback from the episode.
Good, good.
For those of you who stuck out through the whole thing, we really
Yes.
appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you for listening to us and also our opinions on everything. I mean, yeah.
Which I was thinking about this last week or a week or two ago, and I wanted to bring this up in the last week's episode, but we were too busy discussing
Yeah.
actual serious problems. I think it's so weird that I think the human anatomy difference between a male and a female is so weird.
Yeah.
I think if you think about it,
Yeah.
I have an extra something, and
I have a giant hole.
You. That's the name of the episode.
I have a giant hole. I love you.
I have an extra something, and I have a giant hole. Bad first dates.
The high five episode. I love it. I love it.
Okay. While you continue to laugh, I have to go pee. So I'll be right back. We didn't read tarot cards last week.
Mm-hmm.
And I was going to have Heather read hers and then explain why I didn't read mine. And I didn't draw a card last week because my mental health was so bad. And something I learned from Heather was
that if you're not in the best of states, sometimes it's not always the best thing to draw tarot cards, especially if you know, a lot of times when we draw a card, and those of us who do, it's because we also have beliefs related to that. We can tend to go very quickly to a very negative space with it and read
way too
wrong,
Yeah.
deep into things. We run to where the problems are currently in the moment, kind of in the way of like you're cycling in that negative space. So then if you're
Yeah.
cycling in that negative space and read a tarot, you don't want that to make even worse decisions right
Yeah.
around that. Or, you know, you might go to someone that you care about a lot and immediately think negative things because we think about those who are closest to us a lot of times when we're reading tarot.
Yeah. So I didn't draw because I was in a very bad headspace.
Yeah. Well, I'm proud of you for not doing that then.
Thank
Yeah.
you. Heather did. I didn't give her a chance. She didn't have a chance to
It's
even read
fine,
it.
though.
So
We had so much to talk about, and it was such a heavy topic. Like, I mean, it just happens, you know, and we want this podcast to be a conversation, right? So it's
Yeah.
fine when those kinds of things happen, in my opinion. So
yeah, and we want you folks to feel like you're literally sitting in the room and having these conversations with us. So
Yeah.
since Heather didn't get to tell us about her card, I'm gonna have her go ahead and tell us about the card that
Sure.
she drew today.
Sure. I know I was talking about this earlier, that it kind of is related to the stuff that I was talking about with the job opportunity, but I drew the Nine of Wands,
Okay.
which is representative of resilience, persistence, but also boundary setting. So it states that basically, even in the face of adversity, you stand tall and strong. You may edge on exhaustion, but you need to reach the finish line. You may feel battered and bruised by many challenges and struggles. When you thought you've made progress, additional setbacks and challenges come along. The card is a test of grit and resilience, and to show you that when you do overcome an obstacle, you are also stronger by it. You must use your inner resources to keep pushing forward. However, it's also an important reminder to protect the boundary lines too. Basically, in the end, you are a change maker. I actually got emotional reading that because I did just make that decision, and I feel like I have made a lot of positive impact in my current role and making positive changes and for people around me. And I hope that doesn't come out. I'm not trying to sound egotistical at all. I am also genuinely proud of the things that I've done. I'm having a non-imposter syndrome moment for once.
We don't say should, could, would anymore.
Oh, yes.
I am happy for you that you believe in yourself.
Thank you.
Enough, because sometimes we believe in ourselves, but not enough to be proud of those moments.
Yes.
And I am proud of you for
Thank
this
you.
moment right now.
Thank you. And it says, never dim your light and find your cheerleaders and stick by those who truly support you.
High five.
Yes. So, and thank you for always supporting me, Jaron. I always appreciate you.
Well, okay, so you're welcome. Because it's a trauma response for people like us where we don't, when people do support us, we almost don't believe that we're worthy of it.
Yeah.
So I understand why you appreciate my support, and you've always got it.
Thank you.
What I won't support is hatred and doing drugs.
Yes. Agreed.
If anybody out there is new. Oh, speaking of new people.
Oh, yeah.
So we have a new listener. There is an individual out in Australia, which I don't even know why I said it in that accent, but
that's like not an Australian accent. You sounded
crikey,
like
matey.
you were talking like you were from Eastern Europe.
I know. I know. So, hello out there. You downloaded all of our episodes. I hope you don't feel like
Oh,
you're
yay.
getting called out and feeling um uh nervous or anything, but like we just want to give you a little shout out. So, we
Yeah.
hope to get to hear from you. And
We
folks, we
we
still haven't heard from some of you guys. We still want to hear from you. But
yes,
did
please.
we did
We
hear from some people. So, I drew the golden child card again.
okay.
So, again, inner child work, inner
Mm.
peace.
But
Um
you're doing that
I
hardcore right
know.
now, so it totally makes
I know.
sense.
So, and because you said earlier about my power,
Yes.
remember your power is on that card.
It is.
Yeah,
Man, what the heck?
I know. So,
I feel every time we do this, I feel so connected to it.
I
It
know.
makes me so happy. Like and it's crazy to me because it's like we just it goes. And I used to pull things that I'm like, yeah, no, this doesn't make sense. And I feel like when we're doing stuff for like with us, it it works, man.
Yeah. Also, today is Britney Spears' birthday. Happy birthday, Queen. We love you so much.
Oops,
I
I
did
did it
it again.
again. I
I
played
played
with
with
your
your
heart,
heart.
got
Got
lost
lost
in
in
the
the
game.
game.
Oh
Oh,
baby,
baby,
baby.
baby.
You want to talk about something? So last week's episode was a bit heavy and
Yeah.
definitely about a lot of things that we do need to work on, particularly for marginalized communities and obviously specific to things with LGBTQIA.
The same sex bill was passed through the Senate. Is that right?
Yes.
Yes. I don't, I'm like, when it comes to law and stuff, I'm like, I know some stuff, don't know a lot. And I had to go back to make sure that I said the Senate properly
Oh my goodness.
because I wasn't sure if it was
You
the
did it right.
House or whatever.
That's okay.
There's a lot of motherfucking levels out there.
House, then Senate. Sometimes it goes back. Eventually, it has to get signed by Biden at the end.
Okay. And
Yes.
this is happening before all of those additional Republicans come on.
Yes. Fucking yes.
So,
And it had, I mean, it should be obvious, but had bipartisan support. There were some that still didn't, but
yeah.
the important part is that it is
Yeah.
passing.
Again,
So,
there's nothing wrong with Republicans. However, when you're using that side of politics to judge and determine what people should do inside and outside of their homes.
yeah. Or hatred, just hatred.
Yeah.
That's where we have to draw a line, like we said last week.
I've got one small little thing to say before we
Okay.
get into our topic today.
Okay. Yes.
Because we haven't told the audience yet.
Yes.
This coming Sunday is mine and Nicholas's 1 year anniversary.
Aww, yay! Another high five for
Another
today.
high five. One day we can talk about relationships, but in a nutshell, Nicholas and I met like 6, 7, 8 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And we were engaged, and then I ended the relationship because of some fears, and we were apart for 4 years. We have both grown up, and we are in a much better place for each other now.
Mm-hmm.
And it is just so crazy to think that it has been a whole year already. And
Yeah,
and it
because I remember we would talk about this because
yes.
I when we'd meet up, like, yeah, I can't believe it's a year already too. I have a huge smile on my face right now because I'm very happy for the both of you. I'm very
Thank you.
happy for you guys and excited to see what comes next.
And I am just really glad to know that I don't ever have to go on another first date ever again. And so that is the segue
Oh, I
into
love
our
that.
topic today. Folks, we are doing, so we had asked, we had prompted some of the audience members to send us in some of their terrible first date stories.
Yes.
Heather and I also found some on Reddit, and we would love to share them with you folks. Also, if you have any sort of a story, we would love to do like different type of listener stories. Keep us in mind when we are asking for more stories on social media. I am going to let Heather go first.
So, the first one, and she's one of my absolute best friends. She didn't care if I kept her anonymous or not. So, Vicky, love you, girl.
Hi, Vicky. Thanks for being a part of our audience.
Yes,
Thank you for sending in your story.
Yes, we really appreciate you. Before she met her husband, who is also a wonderful person, love him too. One of these first dates, he told me he would like to date me on our first date, but not take it seriously because he couldn't be taken away from his WoW, or World of Warcraft for those who don't know what WoW is,
I dated a guy like that.
raiding time. She goes, I get it takes practice, but damn. Also, are you really that good at raiding if you need to practice that much that you can't even have a relationship? Like, what is going on?
I dated a guy that was like that once. But Vicky, I get it, girl. That would be terrible to feel rejected um, by a video game. Although I have rejected a guy once because not like intentionally, but it was like we were supposed to hang out, and then I forgot that like an American Horror Story episode was being released. I was like,
Mm-hmm.
oh my god, I'm so sorry I can't hang out tonight because I'm supposed to be going to watch the show. And he goes, oh yeah, I get it. I too also sometimes cancel plans with guys that I'm interested in to go watch a television show. And I was like, it totally like went over my head, and I thought that it was not a big deal, but to him it was a really big deal.
Yeah. It just goes to show like priorities. Like, dude, if your priority is WoW rating, like as almost like your second career, then why would you bother saying that? Okay, your turn.
So I have an anonymous story.
Okay.
Oh, this is a female
Okay.
sending in the story.
Okay.
She, her pronouns. This guy met me at school before I got into my current relationship. He approached me after class and started chatting me up. I didn't have anything going on that evening, so when he asked if I wanted to go get a bite to eat, I agreed. We hit it off. We liked the same music, had some similar interests, and he was easy to talk to, charming, engaging. He's hitting all of those.
Mm.
All the green
Love it
flags.
so far. Oh man, I'm like afraid to find out what
I know.
happens.
Toward the end of dinner, he asked about my last name and where it came from. We talked about history, genealogy, and all kinds of broad topics, so I assumed that's where it was going. I told him the original pronunciation and spelling, mentioning that it was German. He told me a bit about his own and then mentioned that it was, and I quote, hard finding good German girls. I thought it was an odd thing to say, but brushed it off. We eventually started talking about tattoos, and he mentioned he wanted to get a new one. I asked him what he wanted, and he looked me over a moment, almost like he was sizing me up. He said he wanted a swastika on his thumb knuckle.
No.
Yes.
I was already suspicious.
Yes.
No.
People in Germany, we know that you're not like that anymore.
Yeah,
You've completely pushed that out.
Americans have this problem.
Yes.
Let's be clear.
Yes.
Oh my god.
That was the last thing I expected him to say. I got up and I told him I needed to leave and left immediately. I can't believe I went on a date with a neo-Nazi.
Oh my gosh.
Thank you so much for sending in your story. At least he was bold enough to be that honest about
Oh yeah,
his
you got to
hatred.
find that out fast.
Yeah.
Ooh. Girl, so glad you ran from that one.
Now, if she had been gay, it would have been on the second date because we fuck on the first. Because straight people, y'all have Tinder because the grinders had gays.
the gays had grinder first. Yes.
So you're
I mean,
welcome.
y'all set up the expectation, okay?
Yeah, although I am so glad that I do not have to mess with that stuff anymore. Give me another one.
Went to dinner with a guy who turned out to be the son of the leader of a huge white supremacist church in Idaho called CIM. Know what that is? Feel free to look it up and make sure if we have any listeners in Idaho. Watch out. He started a conversation with me that I did not want to have and would not let it go. I asked to be taken home, but instead he took me to an old Howard Johnson's where he continued to proselytize. That is, and I hope I pronounced that correctly, that is basically where you try to convert someone to your religion.
Oh.
So he was hardcore pushing it.
Mm-hmm.
We lived in the same apartment complex.
No.
Yeah.
Okay,
so come to find out that
you
happened.
Don't shit where you eat, folks.
Yeah.
And you don't eat where you shit.
Yeah.
Don't date your neighbors. Don't date your coworkers. Don't date people you go to school with.
Correct. And this doesn't clarify whether she knew that or not, but you know, she comes to at least find that out. But instead of dropping me at my door, he took me to his. Interesting considering that he was also trying to in the middle convert her to his culty religion, yet wanted to take her back to his place. Anywho, so she then walked herself home, but then later she saw him at the pool and he continued to just be a shitty person. And so
Such a
that's where it
sourpuss.
ends. Yeah.
Oh, she rejected me.
And
Oh.
I think the part that I love about that like this story in particular so much is like sounds like it's a super conservative white supremacist like kind of vibe
Hmm.
church kind of thing, and he's literally trying to convert her to and get her to go to his church on the first date, and then when she asks to be taken home, he is not respectful of that and wants to take her back to his place to, let's just say, likely do things that is not godly, right? Like the irony in that in a single day that this person is willing to do. Like, yeah, I thought that was interesting.
This one is from Jen. Jen and I went to beauty school together. She says, "Well, I was talking to him about how I am saving up to buy a house, and I was really close to starting the process. He said, 'Oh, great. When you get that, my kids and I can move in too.' Then we went to a bar, and he literally kept reaching out to touch me, like my leg or arm or something, and then he would RIP his hand away. Oh, rip."
R.I.P.
Because it's in all capitals. And then he would rip his hand away and say, "Oh my God, I'm so sorry. I don't know if you want me to touch you or not." And I was like, "Well, it's fine." And I said that like literally 75 times. It was so fucking weird. Bro, no, no,
No,
no,
and
no,
not.
no. Leave her alone.
Oh
She does
my
not need
goodness.
your ass.
Let me move myself and my kids in first date. On a house that like oh, why? One that is so narcissistic to make it all about you and your personal situation out of someone like talking about their journey, right? Like first thing.
Nobody falls in love faster than a narcissist who needs a place to live.
Yes, bitch. High five again. It's
Jen,
the high five episode.
that's your that's your that's your feedback from us, Jen.
Yes. Girl, so glad you ran away from that one.
So the rest of these stories are off of Reddit.
I included it because the end part is a quote that could be another title for this episode in the end because it's just great. It made me laugh. Anywho, went to see a movie that turned out to be basically a lesbian porn, which I literally looked through the comments underneath that to be like, what movie are they talking about? Like,
She
what, like,
said, "I'm
like,
interested."
I'm curious, like, well, I'm just curious. Like, they went to a movie and this person is like claiming, like, oh, it turned into something they didn't expect. And, like, I mean, and that's okay. It's just, that's what it was. And the guy that she was with was hard for part of the movie. I wasn't interested. Everyone in the theater was making out, and every time someone on screen started having sex, he would lean into me and say, "That's what's up."
Ew.
That's
Ew.
what's up.
I feel like this guy's name is Chad.
Yes, I thought, or Kyle, Chad or
Ugh.
Kyle with a tribal tattoo, with the like, or like like the tribal tattoo thing, the classic
Yes.
Chadster.
Yeah. Ugh. Disgusting.
That's what's up.
That's what's up.
That's what's up. We should make it a meme, a podcast meme. That's
That's
what's
what's up.
up.
Merch idea?
Yes.
I was having a great night with this guy, and at the end of the night, he walked me to my car. He wanted to sit in the car with me, which I found odd, but whatever. Then he pulls me onto his lap to make out, which felt odd as an adult, but again, whatever. Now the following day he calls me informing me that since we stayed up so late last night and he had to work so early the next day, he wore the same jeans from our date to work that morning. What he did not realize, and to my absolute horror, I had started my period while sitting on his lap in the car. He did not
Oh.
notice until his colleagues pointed out the stain on his pants. Welcome to the horror story of my life.
Oh, that poor
I
girl.
know.
Oh.
Again,
Does it say
folks,
anything about whether he was understanding or not? Like, I feel like, I mean, sometimes when that happens, it's like the girl herself, like she probably like was like, okay, I can't ever talk to him again. Like,
that's that's it.
that sucks.
I know.
If it was like a really good date, like I feel okay, straight guys, if you're listening, if that ever happens, the best thing you can do if you actually truly like the girl and it was just an unfortunate
Or
accident
if you just want to be
is
fucking
like,
respectful because
yeah,
she's a woman.
exactly. Reach out to her and be like, hey, this doesn't bother me. Be very clear for that because again, we were talking like women are so taught to be ashamed of that they're just gonna assume unless they basically meet a guy who is actually open. There's a lot of girls out there. I think girls are getting better at not assuming that, but a lot of girls do. They're going to like run away from that, right? Unless you
Yeah.
tell them otherwise. So, like, just be open and be supportive. And
Yeah.
yeah,
If you if you have a woman in your life, put some fucking tampons in your bathroom for her.
there you go. All right, this one. So this girl was saying that the guy brought his 10-month-old child on the date. And one, I want to say that I think this person and how they explained it. Sorry. One, I want to explain.
Oh, I thought you were going to get emotional for a second.
No,
I was like, oh, is this a trauma thing?
no.
She goes, I was that 10-month-old at the date.
No, I was burping. So number one, I think the way that this person clarified, they didn't know that this person had a son. Um,
Oh, okay.
yeah.
Okay.
So
That's why I gasped.
that's why they were, yeah, a
Okay.
little bit freaked by it. I don't think they had a problem with, dating someone who had a kid. They
Ooh.
were also clarified that, yeah, I didn't know about this.
Okay.
He then complained about how he doesn't drink coffee, so he won't drink anything. Note, he's the one who wanted to meet at Starbucks for drinks.
I have so many things I want to say, but I have to wait a little while.
So he
Continue.
told me if I wanted something to go buy one for myself. He then casually mentions he needs to be home before his ex gets off work because they live together and she would be mad that he had gone out. I'm confused by this and practically speechless at this point and decide to make an excuse and leave. I tell him I'm getting a migraine and need to go. I mean, obviously, this guy wanted to go on a date with her, but then acts super not interested and also tells them, like, oh, by the way, I live with my ex, which, okay, is that really still your ex? I don't even know. Before I can even turn to leave, he pulls me in for a tight hug, whispers in my ear how much he wants to fuck me, then grabs my butt, all while still holding the baby. And here's the kicker. On top of it, the kid pulled her hair as he was doing that at the same time. Like, what the? She ran away.
No.
Oh, man. But he's like, yeah, I hate coffee. So if you want something, you'll have to go buy it for yourself. Like, why even bother? But then it, like, at the end, it obviously explains it. Yeah.
Okay, so this poster says that they have two, and it turns out that they were the bad date both times with the exact same guy.
Oh.
Yeah. While in college, I met a guy on Tinder that would later be known as Boring Joe. For our first date, we went to a fast food restaurant where he continued to be as dull as watching paint dry until I literally fell
boy.
asleep at the table. Literally fell asleep at the table. He then asked if I was tired from work, and I looked this guy right in the face and said, "No, you are boring me to sleep."
Oh my goodness, that's really sad.
Yeah.
Like, I feel bad about it. It sounds like she did too, but it's like, what are you gonna do?
Yeah. Yikes, right? This dude laughs. He thinks I'm joking, but we end the date and leave. The next several days, he's blowing my phone wanting to see me again. He isn't that boring through text, so I chalk up our first date to him being nervous or something and agree to date number 2. This time we go to a restaurant where he orders chicken tenders and I order potato soup. This is relevant to the story. Once again, I am counting down the minutes until I can leave because it just isn't clicking. But then I notice this 22-ish-year-old guy is eating chicken tenders by cutting them with a steak knife and using a fork, and I kind of make a joke about that. Being weird because it's finger food. I say this while I'm eating my potato soup by picking out the chunky pieces with my hand. I ate soup with my hand and thought he was the weird one. Of course, this realization didn't come until I was retelling the story to my roommate.
She was so bored out of her mind that she started doing weird shit.
Yes.
That's, in my opinion, what's happening
Yes.
here.
He still tried to take me on a third date, but I declined and told him I wasn't interested in him. He took my lack of speaking to him as an invitation to show up at my job looking for me randomly about a month after and then gave up.
Oh my goodness.
So there was a time where I was a bad date.
Okay.
Um, a trigger warning for substance abuse. Um, skip the next 2 minutes. Uh, back in the days, remember when like K2 and Spice was a thing?
Yeah. Yeah.
So I transitioned from like one thing to smoking spice because it was
Mm.
just easier, and that's also like how I racked up like a significant amount of my early 20s debt because you could put it on a credit card.
Oh no.
Luckily, it's all paid off, but
Spice is such a problem in this area too.
yeah,
Just remember.
yeah.
Yeah.
Um, well, I had met this really cute guy on
Mhm.
probably Grinder, but he lived like many, many miles away.
Mhm.
And I invited him over to the apartment that I was living at. And I smoked the spice. And at this point, like my usage was so bad that, um, like I would like dope nod and I would fall
Mm.
asleep. I fucking fell asleep with a bowl in my hand while this guy is sitting next to me and he's just watching me get high. And then
Oh
I
no.
woke up and then he was like, "Well, I think I should get going." And I was like, "Okay." So then I like walked him out to his car and then I tried to like get a hug and a kiss from him because like I was really into him.
Yeah.
And then I was like, "Okay, well, let me know when you're safe because I am that kind of a person. It is important for me to know when people are safe."
Yeah, you're still like that.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And then he did tell me that he got home and then he breadcrumbed me immediately.
Mhm.
And I was at one point I was like, "Hey, like I'm sorry I kind of like fucked up. Like I just really like you and I really want to get to know you." And he was like, "Yeah, like I want to continue getting to know you too." And then boom, ghost.
Yeah.
Because
Had trouble just being honest with you or being like, "Hey, I'm not into this," or
yeah.
yeah. So this next one starts off by saying we were going to meet up at a restaurant on like an old school blind date type thing. We were set up by mutual friends.
Mm-hmm.
He texts that he wants to go get drinks before at the bar across the street. I'm not really a drinker, but I was like, sure, I'll meet him in the bar, and he is cute. Not really my type, but let's give it a try. At the bar, he starts off really nice and chill. Then he starts making these comments that at first I was like, well, I clearly didn't hear that correctly. Stuff like, you're cute, not the cutest girl here, but really cute. Like, what the fuck? I'm like,
Like you're
okay.
just cute enough for me to have
Yeah, and he was straight up saying that to her face, but she's like, I can't be hearing this correctly, right? But at the same time, what the fuck if that's what I'm hearing? I'm like, okay, either he can't hold his alcohol or he's just awkward or something and he's nervous. At the restaurant, he's super rude to the staff, complains about everything in a really obnoxious, sarcastic way. Oh, good, you're finally at our table, and it only took you 20 minutes. He tells them my entree was way overpriced and makes this surprised expression when I order. I try desperately to say sorry to the staff with my eyes. He makes a whispering comment to me about our server's chest. To me, on our first date.
sir.
The conversation turns into an interrogation after that. How long were you with your last boyfriend? Why did you break up? Have you ever cheated on someone? Do you see a lot of guys? All the while, he's still saying things on his end like, yeah, you're really pretty, but I've dated lots of pretty girls. Dinner is over and I want to go. We are standing outside and he leans in to kiss, so I turn it into an awkward hug. He says, wow, really? Really loudly.
Yes,
People
really.
stare. Yeah, yes, really. The best part, I'm walking to my car and he texts me that he is going to a strip club because I teased him all night.
Okay,
He
bye.
invites me to come with him. I decline. What the fuck? What a fucking asshole, right?
That sounds like one of the Tate boys.
Ugh. Yeah.
Disgusting.
Absolutely disgusting. Like what a piece of shit. Total pig, right? Like just I yeah. And you know if he says, "Oh, I've dated lots of pretty girls," he probably can't get anyone. The I think the funniest thing about this though, in my opinion, is the fact that they were set up by mutual friends. I want to know about these fucking mutual friends, right? And like if you're that girl's friend,
Hmm.
why would you set them up?
Well, okay, so
Like
friends, so like maybe,
unless they just like that person masks like that the toxic guy
yeah,
masks really well in public. I don't know, but then he was like really bad to waiters and like really bad out in public. So I have a
yeah.
hard time believing that. Your turn.
He said he wanted to take me to his favorite pizza place in the mall. We meet up, and when we get to the register, he said, "Do you mind paying? I have a lot of credit card debt." I should have left at that point, but I was pretty young and naive. Then he proceeds to go up and buy 2 more slices for himself. After he bought some really expensive Star Wars merch, apparently he had quite the collection. No wonder the debt. We got into his car after the date and he started making out with me. Came in his pants from that
What?
and then begged me for a blowjob in the mall parking lot. And then
Ew.
there's this
After he came?
and then there's this girl that commented. She goes, "Bro, what the fuck?"
I'm sorry, but like asking for a blowjob right after you came, like that's no.
Oh, hey folks, we're an extremely explicit podcast.
Yeah, just FYI.
If the male and female anatomy comment from earlier didn't already
Yeah,
like tell you that.
I'm a hole.
I'm just a hole, sir.
Oh my goodness. What the fuck? Seriously, WTF, mate. For our Australian listener, WTF, mate. This is my last one.
Okay.
It's a little bit of a long one, but I thought it was crazy, so I had to include it. This one says, "Okay, fun story. Met a girl on OkCupid, which, by the way, I don't even know if OkCupid even exists anymore. Like, I literally don't even know.
That's so
Does
funny.
it?
Oh, were you also on the OkCupid Reddit thread?
I don't know.
Because some of mine are from OkCupid bad dates.
Mine was not an OkCupid thread, but there were a lot of people talking about OkCupid. So I
Okay.
think that one was like generally.
OkCupid.
I also feel like from friend experiences,
OkCupid.
friend experiences too. I don't think I would have ever touched it. Like even when I think back to like other things that friends would say when they had experiences with OkCupid, they were never good. Like, and I'm not saying that no one ever had a good experience on that, but like, I feel like a lot of the bad date stories I was reading, even in the non OkCupid thread stuff, it would mention OkCupid.
Okay.
So interesting theme there. But anyway, so they met a girl on OkCupid for a first date.
How many times I feel like we've said that?
Yeah, please
so
edit some of that out.
I don't know how I'm gonna be able to do it. I will figure it out. I have the power.
You're gonna have. Remember how you said you're gonna have like a sound bit for You have a sound bit for OkCupid.
OkCupid.
So remember this episode.
God dang.
From a few days ago. Anyways, or a few years ago, she seemed attractive and normal enough until I picked her up. It's easier to just bullet point what happened from here in order. So the guy literally bullet points this entire thing. I arrived. She was on the phone and didn't get off the phone until she was actually in my car.
God, that is so annoying.
Yeah, especially for a first date. Like, have that respect. Like, you're putting in extra effort, right?
Right.
As soon as she got off the phone, barely said hi, starts messing with my radio and AC knobs, flipping and turning everything randomly.
Ma'am.
Like, you're touching someone else's property.
Ma'am.
You literally just met them.
A simple, do you mind if we adjust the temperature? Can we listen to something?
Oh, always ask the owner of the vehicle first. Come on.
Yes.
So, but anyways, I mean, and it sounds like, you know, they didn't have a lot of communication before this date. So, like, it's really out of nowhere. Like, it's one thing if you were talking to someone online for, like, years, you feel like you know them or something. I don't know. Even then, I wouldn't be able to do that. But I'm trying to find a semblance of, like, trying to be understanding. But no,
I just got comfortable
can't.
with taking control of the radio in Nicholas's car. Like,
yeah, like, it's just you have respect for other people's property.
Right.
Like, and because you care about that person, you want, like, that's their stuff, you know?
right.
Anywho, instead of asking me to put something on, she gives up and decides to blast music from her cell phone and then sort of sings, whispers, mumbles along with the songs. And then asks me if I like her singing, which I thought was a joke, so I chuckled and say, "Yeah, sure." To which she becomes very offended and said I was an asshole. Time check, this is about 10 minutes and 5 miles into the date. So we sat in silence for a little while, and my mind was racing with what the fuck did I get into? She went back to singing vindictively and loudly while glaring at me the whole time. I tried to just face forward. So, like, you're picturing, like, this guy, right, driving, and she's, like, staring at him in the passenger seat, loudly singing at him, like, at him. And it sounds like her singing was of questionable quality. So she then turns and asks, "Are you taking me home?" And I reply, "You want to go home?" And she just starts singing again. Doesn't even answer. I make a U turn and start heading back. She leans over and licks the side of my face like a dog while grabbing at my crotch. At this point, I'm fucking terrified. No idea if she's going to yell, kick, scratch, punch, flash, kiss, or suck. I freeze with a stupid smile on my face and continue driving. Next bullet point says awkward touching continues. Which, by the way, let's be clear, like, I know we're laughing and this is funny,
Hmm.
but like, consent goes other ways. Like, I know we talk a lot of
Oh
like, we
yeah.
always say, like, for in straight relationships, from a man to a female, because that's where you hear about the problems the most.
Yeah.
But female to male as well. That is incredibly
Yes.
wrong. He is obviously not okay with this and she should not be doing that. So let's be
Right.
very clear. But he's saying this in a funny way, so
Right.
it's also funny. um, I pull in up in front of her house and stop the car. We sit for about 10 seconds and then she looks over and asks, "Am I home?" Like how do you not know?
Bitch, how the hell do you not know that you are home?
I say, "Yeah, probably best if we call it a night." And again, this is only like 15 minutes in, and she gets out and leaves, skipping to the front door. I get home before 8 p.m., enjoying being single at this point. I wake up the next morning and go to work. Her fucking cell phone is in my car, and it was about
No.
100 missed calls and text messages. This is an older flip phone with no security, so I open it up, and all the texts are from quote unquote mom, and they alternate between calling me sexy, saying she wants to see me again, to name calling, to saying I stole her phone and that she's going to call the cops, back to saying she can't wait to see me again. I go into her phone, delete my number and our texts, put the phone in a padded envelope, and overnight it to her with no return address.
What a man. What a man, what a man,
Uh,
what a man, what a mighty good man. That one's for you, Dan.
but yeah, so I just thought that one was like so bizarre. It verges on, I do wonder if she had severe mental, like, illness or disability that probably is untreated. Like, how
Yeah.
can you go from like, and this all took place in less than 20 minutes? How can you be like boom, boom,
Yeah, that
boom,
was a lot.
like flip 180 every 2 seconds? Unless she was almost doing it as like a prank for some reason and he didn't even realize. Like, she just wanted to be crazy in the moment. Like, she was, there's something off there, right? Like,
Yeah.
not even realizing that you're home, like weird, I don't know.
Oh,
Anywho,
I just got it. The whole like messages from mom because she was using her mother's cell phone.
yes.
Wow, okay.
So then it's like on top of it, she's using her mom's cell phone.
Right.
Like, what is going on here? I think the mental maturity at minimum was definitely not there. Good
Yes.
for him that he got out of that situation, did the right thing about the cell phone.
I met a man named Carl at a bar. I gave him my number and we decided to go on a date together. I was a student and a single mother at the time. He was working as a laborer. He decided to take me out to the movies one night. This would have been considered our first date, as prior to this, we had only hung out with other people. As we were standing in line to get our tickets, I did not want to assume that he would be paying for my ticket, so I pulled out a Visa to pay for mine. Upon noticing this, he said, "Oh, you're going to pay for the ticket?" And I said, "Yes, for sure." And he said, "Well, might as well pay for mine too." And I just remembered how this story ended.
I know. I was like, "Ooh, what's gonna happen?"
I was, for the most part, broke, but agreed to pay for his ticket as well. Not a huge deal. We go get popcorn and drinks. He pays and
Okay.
find our seats in the auditorium. As we were waiting for the movie to commence with some small talk, he nudged me and says, "Hey, you should give me a blowjob right now. Everyone would be so jealous."
Uh,
I did not find this one to be funny, and I said, "You should be the one giving me the blowjob. I'm the one who paid for the motherfucking tickets."
ah, bitch! Yes, yes.
This
High
was
five to whoever that is.
high five to, oh, I didn't even save the name of their Reddit user I had.
Love it.
This was just the beginning of an awful night with Carl. He tried everything in his power to get me to touch his drink that night. Oh, touch his dink that night.
I was like, drink?
I know.
I'm like, now I'm getting concerned about other things being put in drinks.
Right.
What is going on?
Honestly, the blowjob comment really turned me off, and I could not wait to get home.
Yeah.
To this day, the absolute worst day I'd ever been on 20 years later.
I'm going to be very honest. From doing the Reddit deep dive and also, unfortunately, my some personal negative dating experience, it's like a common theme with guys. Like they think some of them think they can take a girl into a movie theater and then that just assumes that like at some point they can get her turned on enough that she's going to blow them.
I've been that guy,
Yeah.
and I have been that girl,
Yeah.
and I
I've
knew
been
this
that
girl.
girl.
I used to be friends with this girl when I was
Yeah.
younger who
Trying to get your hand to move in a certain direction and it's like,
yeah,
you think I don't know that? Like,
he told her he was taking her to go see Memoirs of a Geisha because it had the lowest amount of ratings, and they were going to go in the middle of the day because there was a greater chance of them being alone, so that she could do that.
No.
Yeah.
Difference if both parties actually are into that and it's kind of kinky to do like
Oh, well, then
something
hell
where
yeah,
it's forbidden, right? Like,
right.
absolutely.
Exhibitionism.
You know, hell
yes.
yeah. Do what you want. But yeah, and these are more talking about where like one person has this expectation that
Yeah.
isn't realistic and also is not necessarily consensual.
Right.
So this one is my favorite one because it's so crazy. And actually had I think the reason why first of all, I think it's really funny, but also had a somewhat similar past experience, not necessarily to this degree, but to like, in terms of someone being very forward like this.
Okay.
So, anywho, more like a first date that never wanted to end, so this might be long. I had just moved to a different state and decided to try out the online dating scene. This was before the days of Tinder, and Match.com was one of the only options. I matched with a guy that seemed to be pretty genuine, decent looking, and wasn't horrible in phone text conversation. We decided to meet at a restaurant to grab appetizers and drinks. When we got there, conversation seemed great. He even looked like his picture. Shortly after getting there, we both decided to order dinner because we were both hungry and had a rough day at work. He offered to pay. Shortly after ordering, he grabs my hand as it was resting on the table and next to my drink. He proceeds to hold it and seems to have no desire to let it go, though. Sadly, he still seemed very genuine. He then switches our conversation from work and friends to how he has baby fever. Mind you, we are both in our young 20s. He's still holding my hand. No amount of tugging will give him the message, and at this point, I'm beyond creeped out to the point of scared. I don't believe I said a word to him after he uttered the words baby fever. Food comes. And again, remember, this is a first date.
Sorry, my mind went somewhere else. You said food comes, and I was like, baby fever, food comes.
Food comes.
Baby food fever comes? Comes fever?
Come fever.
Never in my life.
Because I just keep staring at the fact that I have to restate food comes.
The food arrives.
Sorry.
It's okay.
The food arrives.
Okay.
Thank heavens. I can finally get my hand back. Nope. Think again. He wants to hold hands and eat at the same time. Of course, me being a young 20-something, I ordered a salad, which is totally doable with only one hand. Rookie mistake. The waiter comes over and can obviously see my desperation. I'm fairly certain I'm sweating at this point. My hand feels gross, and I'm awkwardly looking around for an exit strategy. I can't even grab my drink without making a bigger effort. Like, he literally will not let go of this girl's hand. while talking about his baby fever.
Uh-huh.
Then the glorious moment happens. The waiter accidentally spills my wine on my date. My hand is finally free. My date
Oh,
rushes
thank
off to the
God.
bathroom to clean up. He seems overly understanding after having an entire glass of red wine dumped on him. The waiter apologizes, then looks me dead in the eye and says, I got you. Go now. I'll take care of it. Fucking hero. MVP of the
Oh my
night.
God.
I immediately get up, say thank you, and got out so fast I almost forgot my coat. The waiter actually had to chase me down to give it to me. At this point, I have no clue what happened after I left, and I didn't care. I get a text later from my date that says how he hopes everything is okay, ignore, and block. A day or so later, I get a message from a coworker that someone is waiting in the hallway for me. Where I work, you can't get into the building without being an employee. I think nothing of it and walk out to see who it is. It's common to wait there as our office is only open for the IT nerds. I open the door, turn to see who's there, and yelp. Excited to see me? And I'm fucked. I must have said I must have had the biggest look of disgust and terror mixed with a gasp on my face. Mr. Creepy Handholder online dating sucks at the first date, works at my company. He asks how my grandma is doing. I play along, assuming that the waiter said something about her. He reaches out to grab my hand, and I yell out, I'm infertile!
And then runs, darts the other direction.
I had no clue where that came from, nor do I have any idea if I was. He looks at me. He looks at me strangely without saying a word, and I use that awkward distraction to run back into my office. I get a message from him later that day on my work chat. Okay, on
No,
her work chat,
sir.
asking if I'd be interested in fertility treatment.
Sir, no. Oh my God.
Okay, now here, I noped right out of that conversation and went directly to security. I never heard or saw him again. So good for her because it was on her work chat.
Right.
So she could take that immediately to work. This dude, first date, okay, holds her hand, will not let go for dear life. I mean, she literally is having to eat her salad with one hand and manage her drink with one hand. He talks about baby fever. She yells out, I'm infertile, to get him to just go away. And then it's like, hey, so like, would you be interested in like fertility treatments? Because I still really like you. It still doesn't get it. What the fuck? What the fuck? That's really upset me.
That poor woman.
Oh my goodness.
I'm so proud of her though.
Oh
For
my
coming up with something
goodness.
that quickly, I would not.
That to me, like, the other stories were so funny, but that one took the icing on the cake for me.
Yeah.
That one was everything. And I had my situation was not as extreme, but it was somewhat similar where it was just like so freaking forward and it was like verging on creepy, and it was that same type of person where like I tried to like let things go. The person like showed up at my house, like, and I was like, oh my God, I should have never given this person my address, kind of like reaction in hindsight, like, oh my God, like they're gonna stalk me now. Like I literally actually had that fear for a while. So like, oh no. People get the hint.
Do you remember probably about 20 some years ago there was the whole like he's just not that into you movie novel?
Yeah.
Okay, guys, sometimes she's just not that into you.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. It goes all ways, and like just trying to be mindful of that and remembering that like if someone doesn't want to be with you, remember for your own sake.
Right.
That means that they're also not good for you because you wouldn't want to be with someone who doesn't want to be with you, right? Like think
Right.
about that. I know that it sucks in the moment. You invested time, but you have to move on. There are other people in the world. Just when you think that there aren't, there is. I found my dude gaming. He lives in another country. He came here for me. Like we have a wonderful relationship now. I never thought that would happen. That's
Right.
amazing. Like I'm so happy for that. Like you have no idea what kind of things will come across your way. Like you got to let it go, people.
Yeah.
Anywho, go ahead, your turn.
So this will be the last one.
Okay.
In college, I was seeing this machismo guy, not a boyfriend because he never really asked me out, who was really nice, but probably should have had a different major slash field of study. Machismo. Hmm.
Let me see that. What is it? What?
Machismo. I don't know.
I don't know.
We were both out of towners, so we lived in the same dorms, and it was the end of the fall semester, so I got to this dorm for the business
Hmm.
before we leave to our separate hometowns for the holidays. Well, the day I decided to visit was the day he found out that he had failed an important class for his major for the second time, and if he fails this class again, he'd be kicked out of the program. Being the nice guy he was, he still tried pleasing me after I told him that it was okay, and I started telling him how he can change his study habits to pass his class. But he was really persistent on this lay. So here I am underneath this man, and he starts crying right
Yeah.
on top of me.
Well, okay.
He suggests that I wait outside his room till he composes himself, so I make my way out. Then I see his roommate in the foyer area, and he literally asks me if this man is still crying.
Yeah. It's pretty awkward.
I've cried after beautiful sex, but never.
Yeah, same. Or like been close to tears kind of thing. Like, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
I love a good laugh after sex.
yeah.
Post sex laughing.
Yes.
Well, everybody, thank you so much for coming and being a part of Well, everybody, thank you so much. Thank you so much for listening to this week's episode. We hope that you had a great time, and
Oh, we definitely had a good time.
We definitely had a good time. We promised we'd bring some laughs after last week's episode, and if none of this made you laugh, then I promised something will. Something
Eventually.
will eventually. Yes.
I don't know how this couldn't.
Yes. You're gorgeous. You look like Linda Evangelista. You're a model. Did you sew those tights yourself? Valentina, your smile is beautiful. Anyway, don't forget to like and subscribe and hit that follow button. Tell your friends and please download our episodes. It helps us grow in the charts. Obviously, it's working because somebody in Australia has found us.
Yes. It's been awesome.
Yes.
Thank you, everyone who's been listening to us. Thank you, everyone who's started to listen to us recently, catching up on all of our episodes, and keep joining us for more.
Yes, we release episodes every Monday on your favorite streaming platform service, wherever you find your favorite podcast. And our link tree for other social media and ways that you can interact with us directly can be found in the episode description. We love you and have a good day. You'll see us next week. You'll hear from us next week.
Love you guys.
Love you.
Bye.
Bye. We're out.
High five episode. The ultimate. It was seriously like the ultimate high five episode. And this one was so fun.
Okay, so like
I had fun.